Good evening and welcome to the news at 6. I'm Tracy Shilshi, getting you the day's top stories and also what's developing. Of course, Delhi campaigning coming to a close just about now. We'll get you all the headlines right now. Parties go all out on last day of campaigning in Delhi. Roadshows, rallies and shrill speeches mark the close of electioneering. (1979) batch IS officer L.C. Goyal takes charge as new Home Secretary a day after Anil Goswami was sacked from the post. Trinamool Congress MP Srinjoy Bose resigns from the Rajya Sabha and party membership over the Sauda scam allegations. And NATO response to Russia's threat in East Ukraine triples its presence in Central Europe. Our top story, campaigning for the Delhi polls came to an end today. In the last leg, leaders from all political parties set up a strong front, campaigning rigorously across the length and breadth of the national capital. Here's all the action.
The campaigning in Delhi, marred by multiple controversies and mudslinging, came to an end on Thursday evening. The last day witnessed intense campaigning by the top three parties. In the last leg, parties ensured nothing is left to chance in this high-profile battle. The BJP ended its Delhi campaign with a mega flourish, as it held roadshows in all 70 assembly constituencies. Party chief Amit Shah also held rallies at several places, appealing to voters to choose the BJP. Aam Aadmi Party convener Arvind Kejriwal also continued with his relentless campaigning, meeting people and promising a corruption-free government in Delhi. Congress star campaigner Rahul Gandhi held a massive roadshow in Sultanpur Majra area, seeking votes for his party candidate. The national capital will go to polls on Saturday to elect a new government almost a year after Arvind Kejriwal decided to step down in February last year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, so let's talk about some of the key points that we've seen in campaigning this time around. We've got Mr. Sachitananda Murthy, who's the resident editor of The Week, joining us. Good evening so much, Mr. Murthy, for joining us. Of course, like we said, something that struck to you as unusual, perhaps, is last time around that you saw this time in campaigning.
I think this campaign has seen, more of personal attacks than what was there in the last election, because last time you didn't have a prime minister who answered bob to bob, allegation to allegation of what was hurled by Arvind Kejriwal, especially Arvind Kejriwal and the Aam Aadmi Party, because he did not notice the Congress very much. But then we also saw a very vigorous campaign by Rahul Gandhi, who had been devastated by the defeat in the last Lok Sabha election, but he had newer energy. He was going out, and his campaign tactics saw him take on to the crowds rather than just addressing them from the rostrum. So these are some of the changes, and also Aam Aadmi Party talked more about lot of development projects, offered lot more freebies this time than it did in the last campaign, which was more based on people's anger rather than expectations.
Yeah, that's right. When you were talking about, this time being more personal, I remember Arvind Kejriwal saying that this time they're not focusing on any personality, they're just going on development. But then talking about Arvind Kejriwal, he is perhaps the only leader that we've seen among parties who's been there throughout, compared to a Kiran Bedi who came in towards the end of campaigning, or for that matter even Rahul Gandhi. Do you think that will make a difference on voters?
Yeah, I think what happened was everybody forgot Delhi after the last assembly elections, and of course the Lok Sabha elections were fought on a different play too. But the day he was defeated in Varanasi, Arvind Kejriwal came back to Delhi, worked very hard since May to re-establish his base, reconnect with his workers, his leaders. So, and if you look at the number of people who have defected from BJP and Congress, especially in Outer Delhi area, that shows that he had done a lot of political work. Whereas the Congress, because it was devastated by two defeats, it did not put his house into order, but then they brought in Ajay Maken just a few days before Kiran Bedi was brought in by the and BJP was so thrilled by its sweep of the national election, sweep of all the 7 seats. They only later realized that its organization was not at all up to the mark. You know, if you remember, the Aam Aadmi Party has started an auto-rickshaw campaign having posters, please SMS your vote for the best Chief Minister of Delhi. Is it Kejriwal or Jagdish Mukhi? And they would go on announcing, no, Kejriwal is 90%, nobody knows Jagdish Mukhi. So the BJP didn't have a face, but then Modi did work without faces in the assembly elections of Maharashtra, Haryana and Jharkhand. So he thought that strategy may work in Delhi. But last minute when their own internal polls and feedbacks told them that no, you need a very strong base, and only Kiran Bedi had to be brought from outside. So that meant for a week there was confusion in the party. What is her role? Where will she be? And she didn't know most of the leaders. So there were a lot of confusion in BJP, whereas Aam Aadmi Party work without much confusion.
And it's been quite an emotional ride, at least for Kiran Bedi, by the looks of it at least. You know, she was brought in, it was very obvious that within the party there was a lot of discontent with her suddenly being pitted, you know, against Arvind Kejriwal for the CM's post. Do you think now that campaigning is over, she's done as much as she possibly could?
Yeah, I think she has done her best because her popularity ratings, whatever they were when she was first mentioned as a chief ministerial candidate, they have remained by and large there. So she has not harmed the BJP, but the problem for the BJP has been elsewhere. Their popularity rating, according to some polls, has come down because of some level of disillusionment, some level of organizational confusion, and also the possibility that some of the anti-Modi votes of the Congress are shifting to Aam Aadmi Party. So that's why Aam Aadmi Party has shown a much higher percentage of votes than it did in the Lok Sabha or even the last assembly election.
Right.
The other thing for Kiran Bedi is, you know, she's almost like the other woman chief minister candidate of BJP, Sushma Swaraj. She came 6 weeks before the polls, and Kiran Bedi has come with even lesser time gap.
That's right.
So, but then Sushma has done well in national politics, so perhaps Kiran Bedi, this attempt itself she may succeed, or otherwise now she is there, here to stay in politics.
Saturday is when we'll get to see what eventually happens, what the voters decide. Mr. Murthy, do continue staying with us. We're talking, of course, of the personalities, but a lot of controversy as well, especially over Aam Aadmi Party's political funding that's being doggedly kept alive by its breakaway faction, the Awam, which also moved the Election Commission against the Aam Aadmi Party.
First, it was dubious sources of funding. Then, there were the fake checks. Aam Aadmi Party's breakaway faction, Aam Aadmi Volunteer Action Manch or Awam, has tried everything to bring to attention what it calls the misdeeds of the AAP. On Thursday, it moved the Election Commission against the dubious funding of the Aam Aadmi Party.
We do not believe in indulging in mudslinging. We level allegations based on substantial evidences, and here are the evidences. उन्होंने evidences लिए हैं. You can see that I have a receiving. He has assured us of necessary action as early as possible.
But as testament of the politics in Delhi this time around, while many might call it a three-cornered fight, for the Aam Aadmi Party, it's been fighting friends turned foes from Awam to Kiran Bedi. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, the BJP has a pledge of support for Saturday's Delhi Assembly elections from the Dera Sacha Sauda. The sect, headed by Gurmeet Ram Rahim Singh, today announced its support to the BJP candidates in the elections. The Dera has a considerable following in the neighbouring states of Haryana and Punjab and claims to have about 20 lakh followers in Delhi. The sect had also earlier announced support to the BJP in Haryana during the assembly polls last year, in which the BJP emerged victorious for the first time, contesting on its own. So controversies, mudslinging, personal attacks and high-octane campaigning, we saw it all and also a little more. Key question now being who will Delhi vote for on Saturday? From the common man to crorepattis and also people with a criminal past. Here's a look at some candidates.
673 candidates are in the fray in Delhi. 114 of them face criminal cases. That means around 17% candidates have tainted backgrounds. This figure was 14% in 2008 and 16% in 2013. 74 candidates this time face serious criminal charges like murder, attempt to murder, assault, causing loss to exchequer and crimes against women.
39% are from the BJP with criminal cases, 33% from AAP, 30% from Congress and 17% from BSP.
19 out of 70 seats in Delhi are in red alert constituencies, which means at least 3 tainted candidates. With 5 such candidates, Tughlakabad tops list of red alert seats. Rajouri Garden and Tilaknagar have 4 aspirants with criminal cases against them. The prestigious New Delhi seat is also a red alert seat, although each party claims that they are committed to clean politics.
माननीय अदालत से हमने रिक्वेस्ट की थी कि भाई आप फास्ट ट्रैक कोर्ट बनाइए और उसमें ऐसे जो लोग हैं जो अलग अलग पॉलिटिकल पार्टियों में हैं, तो मैं मानता हूं कि 1 साल में उनके बारे में जो भी सच्चाई है वो सामने आए। अगर वो अपराधी हैं तो वो सलाखों के पीछे जाएं।
Aam Aadmi Party is fighting to cleanse the system. We are fighting for the clean politics. We don't want to give tickets. We don't give tickets to anybody who is a criminal by nature.
Millionaires are also no less uncommon. Of the 230 crore-patis in the fray, the Congress has 59, the BJP 50 and the Aam Aadmi Party 44. In the most tough-fought battle for the national capital, there were umpteen thrills, spills, twists and plethora of promises. With the curtains pulled down on the electioneering, the voters will now adjudge Delhi's man or the woman of the match. Reporting from Delhi, Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, we continue to have Mr. Sachitananda Murthy, resident editor of the week, with us. Mr. Murthy, as far as transparency goes, despite, of course, as we saw the funding row, the Aam Aadmi Party somehow is one up, isn't it, when it comes to transparency, at least compared to the other parties? Can we say that?
Yeah, because they have made it a part of the charter that every donation they get, they'll make it public. The list will be not, there will be no time lag and all that. So they say that they want a similar practice to be made compulsory for all the parties. They have done that. But then the question here is that they have declared their source of funds, who has given them, but what kind of people? Do they have the mechanism to verify, or do they have the willpower to test, check with the people who pay? Because if you look at the Communist Party of India, they have a much more rigorous way of collecting funds. They don't accept money from corporates. They, like Aam Aadmi Party has accepted funds from corporates with very shady or very unverifiable reputation. So that is the thing. But then that we need a very, very comprehensive law. Even on the Supreme Court had made mandatory the declaration of one's assets and liabilities, criminal record and all that. But then people are now flaunting their wealth. How did they acquire their wealth? Of the so many crore-patis, how many got them from legitimate methods? Those things are also there. So as the Chief Election Commissioner has said, we need to go for very strong campaign financing reforms.
All right. So campaigning, of course, ending now, Mr. Murthy. What do you say? Is it going to be a close fight now between Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP?
No, I think the campaign is over, but I think today, tonight and the whole of tomorrow, they have to work on mobilization. Because if you look at the Delhi elections, both the last Assembly and Lok Sabha, on one side the Aam Aadmi Party and the other side the RSS and the BJP went for mass mobilization across, went to house, got people out to come and vote. I think that's what now those who have campaigned will have to get ready to get people into the polling booths, because the turnout is very critical, because it's a weekend. So some people may, those who come from nearby cities and towns, they might jump into late night trains and buses and go home for the weekend. So they have to be kept in Delhi, made to come to the booth. That will be a big test for all the parties.
That's right, that's right. Unlike the previous time, this time it's falling on a weekend, so we'll have to see how the voter turnout eventually turns out to be. Mr. Murthy, thanks so much for joining us, giving us a perspective of what to expect as well in the coming up days. All right, with that a quick break here, but still ahead, more national news. 2 former cops, DG Vanzara and PP Pandey, get bail in the Ishrat Jahan fake encounter case.
राज्यसभा टेलीविजन की खास श्रृंखला महामहिम राज्यपाल में आपका स्वागत है।
स्वैच्छिक क्षेत्र है, ये लोकतंत्र का 5वां स्तंभ है। लोकतंत्र को बनाने में, लोकतंत्र को संवर्धित करने में, लोकतंत्र को सुधारते रहने में ये बहुत बड़ा काम।
महामहिम राज्यपाल में इस बार गोवा की राज्यपाल मृदुला सिन्हा से मुलाकात सिर्फ राज्यसभा टेलीविजन पर।
इतिहास की खूबसूरत दौर से रूबरू कराती बेमिसाल बावलियां, जो है वास्तुकला का अद्भुत नमूना।
जहां आज भी सैलानी बड़ी संख्या में आते हैं और कैमरे में यहाँ की यादें कैद कर ली जाती हैं।
जल्द ही देखिए अस्मिता में एक यादगार सफर, बेमिसाल बावलियां, सिर्फ राज्यसभा टीवी पर।
Back to the news at 6. L.C. Goyal has taken charge as the new Home Secretary a day after his predecessor Anil Goswami was sacked. He was asked to put in his papers over allegedly trying to stall the arrest of Sharda scam accused former Congress Minister Matang Singh. Goyal was serving as the Rural Development Secretary till now.
Senior IAS officer L.C. Goyal took over as the Home Secretary on Thursday. The 1979 batch IAS officer of Kerala cadre, Goyal was the Rural Development Secretary before taking the new charge. He will have a tenure of 2 years from today. Soon after taking over, he called on Home Minister Rajnath Singh. Goyal succeeded Anil Goswami, who was allowed to resign late on Wednesday, 5 months ahead of his contract. Goswami is accused of talking directly to CBI officials probing the Sharda scam in connection with the former Congress Minister Matang Singh's arrest. He reportedly admitted that he did make the call to CBI officers but did not interfere in the case. Congress raised questions over Goswami's unceremonious exit, but the government backed its decision to remove him.
The Home Secretary is a very sensitive position. And what kind of political supervision and control are they exercising that the Home Secretary can ostensibly interfere into an investigation? So it's a very sad commentary on the functioning of this government.
Home Secretary ka incident is not the first one. You know, censor board chairman and the members resigned because they have no freedom to work. Then the DRDO chief was sacked for no reason.
Goswami was a very efficient and very good administrator. But this particular incident is something I will not like to link with anything, because whatever is there before you, and it just shows the intention of the government on which government would like to perform its duty.
L.C. Goyal, an officer of the 1979 Kerala cadre, who was the Secretary of the Rural Development Ministry, is to take over as Home Secretary. Mr. Goyal had also been a Joint Secretary in the Home Ministry during the tenure of former Minister Shivraj Patil. This is the second instance of removal of a top bureaucrat in a week after Foreign Secretary Sachita Singh's services were curtailed last Wednesday. The move came after she refused to resign from the post. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
More national news. DG Vanzara and PP Pandey, the two former Gujarat cops accused in the Isha Jahan fake encounter case, got bail today. However, Vanzara has been barred from entering the state by a court in Ahmedabad. Vanzara has been in jail for 8 years for cases that earned him the nickname of Encounter Specialist. He was earlier granted bail in the Sohrabuddin Sheikh fake encounter case. He was arrested in March 2007 when he was a Deputy Inspector General of Police for the Sohrabuddin killing. Meanwhile, Pandey, the senior most IPS officer to be arrested in the Isha Jahan case, was the Joint Commissioner of Police when the encounter took place. His bail was granted on 2 surety bonds of 50,000 rupees each. He has been asked to submit his passport as well. So far, 6 out of the 8 cops accused in the case have been granted bail.
पी पांडे की जो जमानत के लिए अर्ज गुजारी थी, वो सीबीआई स्पेशल कोर्ट ने आज मंजूर करके उनको बेल पे रिलीज करने का ऑर्डर कर दिया।
मिस्टर बंजारा का सोहराबुद्दीन केस में बॉम्बे हाई कोर्ट का ऑर्डर ये है कि उसको बॉम्बे नहीं छोड़ना है, बॉम्बे में ही रहना है। तो ये कोर्ट ने जस्ट टू मेंटेन दैट ऑर्डर ये ऑर्डर किया है कि हर वर्किंग सैटरडे को मिस्टर बंजारा ये कोर्ट में प्रेजेंस मार्क करवाएंगे। ये ट्रायल जब चलेंगे तब यहाँ रहेंगे। इसके अलावा जब तक फर्दर ऑर्डर नहीं होता है वो बॉम्बे में रहेंगे।
Now let's take a look at some other national news updates. The death toll due to swine flu has reached 68 after one more person died in Rajasthan yesterday. 29 districts out of 33 in the state are reported to be affected. The number of cases touched 30 in Lucknow after 3 more persons tested positive. Nagaland Chief Minister T.R. Zeliang won the trial of strength by getting 59 votes in the 60-member assembly. The special session of the assembly was summoned by Governor P.B. Acharya after 22 out of the 38 legislators of the ruling Naga People's Front rebelled against Zeliang's leadership. The SIT today questioned Sunanda Pushkar's son Shiv Menon in connection with her alleged murder. At least 15 people have been questioned so far by the police team in the case. Christians staged a protest in central Delhi against the incidents of vandalism on churches in the city. The protesters demanded action against the miscreants. Some people were also detained for violating prohibitory orders. On to the top in national story, and the death toll in the Taiwan plane crash has gone up to 31 today. At least 12 more passengers are still reported to be missing since the mishap took place yesterday, and rescuers continue to search. Probe, of course, is still on to ascertain the cause of the crash. Meanwhile, investigators praise the pilot's last-ditch efforts to minimize the damage during the crash. Rescue teams in Taiwan are continuing to search for the 12 people who remain unaccounted for a plane crashed in a river on Wednesday morning. 15 survivors were pulled from the wreckage, including a 2-year-old boy. The death toll was expected to rise as rescue teams searched the river for the missing passengers.
已经寻获了46个人，送医15个人，死亡31个人。旅客当中呢，大陆籍的旅客有31位。 3人受伤，16位死亡，12人不明。那国籍旅客呢，22位，11人受伤，5人死亡。
The survivors of the crash met the Taiwanese president on Thursday. The investigators praised the pilot, who was killed along with the co-pilot, for remaining composed and trying to steer the plane clear of high rises in the area. The cause of the crash is yet to be ascertained, but TransAsia denied any engine problem, as was claimed by the ATC recordings on Wednesday.
今天媒体有报道，在飞行前，有发动机有异状，没有做检查就放飞。那针对这件事情，我们严重的澄清，并且告诉各位媒体朋友，我们没有这件事情。
This was the second recent major mishap involving a TransAsia plane. Last year, a TransAsia plane crashed in Penghu in bad weather, killing 48 people. Bureau Report, RSTV. Meanwhile, the NATO is all set to more than double its response force in response to Russian actions in Ukraine and the challenge of Islamic extremism. An important element is the formation of a spearhead force that will bolster NATO's ability to respond swiftly to a military threat. Here's more.
NATO is responding to Russian aggression in East Ukraine with a stronger force in Central Europe. The size of the force is being increased from the present 13,000 to 30,000, with command elements in 6 NATO nations including Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Romania and Bulgaria.
I expect that they will decide on a force which will be around 30,000. And part of that enhanced NATO response force, I expect will be the establishment of this spearhead force, which I expect will be of a size around 5,000. And this spearhead force will have some lead elements which will be able to deploy within a very short notice.
Meanwhile, diplomatic efforts to end the renewed fighting are continuing. European leaders, including US Secretary of State John Kerry, French President François Hollande and German Chancellor Angela Merkel are in Ukraine to present a new peace initiative. They will put forward the new plan to Kiev before meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Friday. However, the US insists on continuation of economic and political pressure on Russia. Russia has vehemently denied allegations of involvement in the Ukrainian conflict that has killed over 5,000 people since last April. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And here's more international news updates in Global Buzz. Japan today passed a resolution that condemned the Islamic State after the group beheaded 2 of its citizens and killed a Jordanian pilot. The resolution passed in Japan's lower house called for the country to step up its humanitarian aid to the Middle East and Africa. The Islamic State killed Japanese hostages after Prime Minister Shinzo Abe announced $200 million in non-military aid for countries fighting the terror group. Boko Haram militants have reportedly killed at least 70 people in an attack in Cameroon near the border with Nigeria. The group attacked civilians in their homes and set several buildings on fire in an attack that reminded of the Baga massacre recently. Last month, Boko Haram had killed over hundreds and set the Baga town on fire in one of its most deadly attacks in recent times. The European Central Bank has toughened its stance with Greece by restricting the financing to the country's banks, sending shares falling. The central bank said it would no longer accept Greek government bonds as collateral for lending money to commercial banks. The move makes access to cash more expensive for Greece's banks. Al Jazeera journalist Peter Grest has returned to Brisbane following his release from an Egyptian prison. Grest and his 2 colleagues, Bahir Mohammed and Mohammed Fahmy, were arrested in 2013. They were convicted of spreading false news and aiding the banned Muslim Brotherhood. While Fahmy has surrendered his Egyptian citizenship in order to facilitate his release, the status of Mohammed, in fact, remains unclear. All right, now let's get you all the news for the 35th National Games in this segment. It's the second shooting goal for Koshi Elizabeth of Kerala, who won her second gold medal today in the 50 meters rifle, third position event in the 35th National Games. Elizabeth, in fact, scored a total of 445.9 to beat Vedangi of Maharashtra in a close competition. She had also won the gold medal in the 50 meters rifle thrown event yesterday. Kavita Devi of Haryana bagged the gold medal in weightlifting today. She won the top honours in the 75 kilogram category. Mangta P. Kom of Chandigarh and Punraj of Tamil Nadu took the silver and bronze medal respectively. Shamini Kumaresan of Tamil Nadu clinched the gold medal women's table tennis singles final. Shamini defeated Ankita Das of West Bengal to take the top honour. Bronze medal went to Madhurika of Maharashtra and Mohammadas of West Bengal. Meanwhile, the netball team of Chandigarh has been disqualified from the ongoing national games. The disqualification came after it allegedly tried to get a participation certificate in the name of a non-participating player. According to officials, Chandigarh has registered 14 members only, but brought 13 for a photo session of the teams. Well, that's it for the moment. Thanks so much for joining us.